AI pattern recognition aided in the discovery of the Higgs boson, both in simulating the track patterns shown on the left and detection of the electromagnetic energy track patterns shown on the right. The present non-standard analysis imports the CERN Particle Tracking Challenge dataset to match the high-energy physics particle beam collision flow patterns with low-energy physics turbulence flow patterns. A preprint is available on ResearchGate and Mathematica code in the Wolfram Notebook Archive, including the TrackML dataset Python code used without modification to import the collision events detector hits shown on the left and reconstructed tracks shown on the right. In cylindrical coordinates, each proton-proton collision is set along the beamline to z equals 0 and 1 transverse radial. The resulting pattern matches the high-energy particle helical track's curvature with low-energy hydrodynamic channel spillway dissipation into a reservoir. On the Planck scale, the quantum fluid conjecture represents the units of the photon angular momentum h bar as kinetic mass times kinetic viscosity, having a dimensionless equivalence with angular velocity. The 4D spatially extended computer algebra proof of which holds for all wavelengths, as shown in Figure 9. The quantum fluid conjecture also holds for a 4D spatially extended representation of the electron angular momentum h bar over 2 for all quantum energy levels, as shown in Figure 13. In conclusion, Theorem 1 represents the 4D space-time quantization first-order logic of the photon-electron gauge group, having a solid information domain and fluid range for all wavelengths and energy levels, spanning all the factors in the relativistic energy equation. Hence, formulating a Yang-Mills-Navier-Stokes solution computer algebra prerequisite to the machine intelligence formalization of the QED manifesto. A Maple version of the equations was posted in the MapleSoft Application Center in November 2019. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, with the Aspen CERN 10,000 physicists, in 2014, CERN experimental physicist Maria Spiropulu compared the quantum crisis in particle physics to the classical mechanics crisis of 1905.
Having not found supersymmetry, maybe one can say that we have a crisis, a quantum crisis, a SUSY crisis, whatever you want to. People get nervous about what's going to happen because without supersymmetry, we don't understand how the Higgs boson can exist without violating basic notions of quantum physics.
Hold on. The basic notions of quantum physics are already in violation of understanding, since due to the central force problem, every particle in the standard model particle zoo is a zero-dimensional, imaginary and visible mathematical point particle having the 4D space-time measurements of nothingness. So the standard model explains the observed physical properties by unexplained, unobservable, hidden dimensional particle, string, membrane, or lattice, unknown material mechanism entities, which background mechanisms have been falsified at both the LHC high energy levels and spooky EPR quantum entanglement Bell inequality low energy levels. The most unnatural thing about standard model supersymmetry is it represents a multi-body problem known to be computationally intractable at lab sample sizes, even before introducing any sort of non-local hidden relativistic synchronicity quantum entanglement unknown mechanism, such that the SM supersymmetry multi-body problem cannot be defined in machine language. Hence, contradiction by AI. Hence, immaterial quantum information theory psychophysical parallelism is the last theory standing. If not, then why don't the LHC zero-dimensional particle beams just pass right through one another without colliding? Now that last question, any fourth grader on up to a quantum physics dropout could ask any one of the 10,000 particle physicists. One could if one wants to hear the sound of 10,000 crickets.
So the fact that we have this apparent instability also of the vacuum and that we're going to tunnel away in 10 to the 100 years to some other universe is adding to the mystery.
Yeah, the Higgs signal is the red peak around 126 gigaelectron volts. So that Higgs instability is code for peak width particle resonances. Problematically in that theoretically there should be a single vertical line indicating a single Higgs particle mass instead of the peak width indicating a range of Higgs particle masses. In fact, the LHC collision events, now over 1 billion times a second, generating the differential cross-section peak width particle resonances, are energized, controlled, and detected entirely by means of the 4D Einstein-Maxwell electromagnetic stress, energy, momentum, density, pressure tensor. Alternatively, in the present non-standard analysis, the so-called red and blue peak width particle resonances are all just electromagnetic turbulence. Meaning the radical new idea of CERN in China to build a bigger collider is just going to generate higher energy level differential cross-section peak width expansions of the same turbulence pattern.
And of course, as I mentioned previously, the new discovery, the BICEP discovery, is pointing to a super high energy scale of inflation, namely the GATT scale or more. And then we talk about, then our notions about quantum field, effective quantum field theory and how we talk about physics, the language is very, very peculiar because we're talking about regions where you should be talking about quantum gravity. Now, so either the new run of the LHC should discover super partners, and I think it will, or radical new ideas are needed. And I think if we don't, yes, we will have radical new ideas.
Except without that whole radical new ideas part. Since what we have here is the failure to communicate, the CERN's mission to uncover what the universe is made of and how it works is clearly tunneled into the twilight zone. However, I submit for your approval, not all particle physicists are having it. Enter Professor Dr. Sabine Hossenfelder.
I too would like to see a next larger particle collider, but not if it takes lies to trick taxpayers into giving us money. More is at stake here than the employment of some thousand particle physicists. If we tolerate fabricated arguments in the scientific literature just because the conclusions suit us, we demonstrate how easy it is for scientists to cheat. Fact is, we presently have no evidence, neither experimental nor theoretical evidence, that a next larger collider would find new particles.
Irregardless, CERN has been quietly reprocessing its theoretical predictions to now predict superpartners riding along at some higher FCC energy level, with an announcement scheduled for May 2020. However, as updated on the right, with the global complex system crashed down to ground state, all that is on indefinite hold. Coincidence? Yes, exactly.